Popeye movie. Yeah, you know, this looks pretty good. The animation's nice, it looks like the old show. It even keeps the film story out of the trailer so it doesn't give anything away. Well, all is quiet on the Hollywood front for once, so all is well. Now you can get to work on the Apollo 18 review. I just said all was well! What? Canceled? What could possibly be so damn important that you would cancel a well-minded and carefully coordinated animated motion picture featuring one of the most highly beloved cartoon characters of all time, Popeye the Sailor Man?
Hello. As you can see, I'm an emoji.
No truth. No sense left to be followed. Truly. This is the way the darkness descends. Hello, my name is Hunter, the movie reviewing pony, because when it comes to cinema, humans can go to hell. Every now and then, we get a special kind of movie. Some have us walking out of the theater thinking, wow, what a fun ride. What was your favorite part, Terry? Liam? Joseph? Captain Kangaroo. That's weird. They're sometimes few and far between, but we can find these hidden gems within the cinematic realm. But then, there's a completely different kind of special. Yeah, not so fun. Kind of like having your wallet stolen and getting punched in the gut for an hour and a half. We don't feel better for the experience, just broken. Mercifully, these weaponized pieces of cinema that make you feel like you're in an Auschwitz gas chamber follow the other side of the spectrum in that they're too few and far between. But even then, every now and then one will slip through the cracks and into a theater near you. Case in point, the Emoji Movie. Unlike literally every other theatrical review on this show, I approached this one with hate. In fact, when it comes down to it, outside of PlayStation, Sony as a company seems lost. On the big screen in 2015, Pixels disappointed us. Chappie's lackluster performance wasn't anything to scoff at. They came out with a $1,200 Walkman. Oh, and let's not forget, an all-female Ghostbusters movie. You can clearly tell they're on this downward spiral, and instead of taking the criticism, they plead feminism, and then go back to obsessing over 4K television. Sony Pictures Animation seemed to be finally turning around at the announcement of the Popeye movie, which, what we saw from it, actually looked pretty good. Only for them to cancel it upon realizing that that was actually a good decision. No, they wanted to throw $50 million at a far more promising-looking movie that would have made loads more money. Instead of trying to appeal to the older generations with a Popeye movie, we have to appeal to the idiot generation with emojis. Also, like half of me still doesn't want to believe that this movie is real. Mainly because that the idea well ran so dry that we actually have to make a movie about little emoticons on literally everyone's smartphone. I've had the same Samsung Galaxy S5 for going on 2 years now, and I've never used one. I have a problem with emojis. Their use as a form of communication their practicality, how much millennials have adopted them, and the mere sight of them making me want to slit my throat and snap my phone in half. On a personal level, I hate these things so much it makes me physically sick when someone sends me one. So imagine how I felt with the replacement of a Popeye movie with this. Honestly, this is all this review really needs. All I need to do is show you the poster and tell you it replaced a Popeye movie. But to my dismay, my job description states that I must actually review the movie itself, which unfortunately requires me to actually go and see the movie. Well, I went into this one with a bit of a team. You can imagine how the screening went.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
It's fucking horrible! This is the worst cinematic release I have ever had the misfortune of seeing. You're doing something wrong if at multiple points in your movie, I think Norm of the North is a better movie. There's no conflict drive in this movie. There's no likable characters in this movie. There's nothing to gain or take away from this movie. It doesn't even feel like there was any passion or investment from the creators put into this film. It pulls itself off track at multiple points. Certain plot developments are pulled out of nowhere, and certain plot developments are pulled out and then either never go any further than that or don't serve any relevance to the plot. There isn't even reason to invest yourself in this movie. Worst case scenario, some dumbass kid's phone is broken. Big deal, he gets a new phone. Even then, in 2 years, he just replaces the phone he has anyway. There's no longevity if our protagonist succeeds. It's clearly just arrogant self-promotion of a cell phone, and I'm not invested. And at no point in the production of this movie, nobody stood up in their desk and said, "Damn it, stop!" The film doesn't even work. It doesn't make me like emojis anymore. In fact, it makes me hate them more. And if anything, it points out society's overdependence on smartphones as a whole, which doesn't make me feel better. Because then it's trying to overglorify one of humanity's biggest flaws, which is its dependence on a smartphone. I know what you're thinking. Hunter, don't you usually start these reviews with the positives? Well, not in this case. You know why? Because there are none. There is nothing redeemable about this movie. So we're skipping straight to the bads. Let's start with the obvious. This movie is ugly. Now, emojis in themselves are ugly, but this just makes them uglier. And it's not just the emojis that are ugly. Everything else is ugly. All the characters are ugly, the animation is ugly, the backgrounds and everything else is ugly. Just how sheerly generic this whole movie looks is astoundingly dull. And the story for this, it's bullshit. It feels like a poorly written version of Wreck-It Ralph. And I don't even want to make that comparison because I liked Wreck-It Ralph and that feels like it's insulting Wreck-It Ralph. It's also really predictable. I guarantee every single story development in this movie you've seen before in a better movie. Only the thing is, that better movie did it so much better and so much more meaningfully that it just makes this movie look even worse. It's a bad day when I think I'm psychic because I can tell when the movie is going to do so-and-so, and then it does. But then it does other things that it doesn't even touch base on again. Or it pulls out of nowhere. Like his parents suddenly breaking up for no reason, or what's-her-face bitch ending up being the princess emoji. Oh, like you care about spoilers in a movie about emoticons. There's also way too much licensed shit in this movie on its own to give it any sort of immersion whatsoever. Dropbox, Just Dance, Candy Crush. In fact, they bring YouTube in at one point. It doesn't even contribute anything to the plot or further the story in any way. They just wanted to put YouTube in the movie. We've seen these characters before too, because they're the most generic characters out there. We've seen all of these personalities and all of these character arcs in 50 other movies, and they're done so much better in those 50 other movies. When you combine these generic characters with a generic plotline, with a generic setup, coupled with the fact that it's fucking emojis, which is the stupidest concept to base your movie off of, it honestly, no joke, makes for the worst movie I have seen in cinematic history, at least in terms of theatrical releases. And that's still saying way too much. But another thing about this movie, there's no drive, there's no passion put into it. It almost feels like the company working on this movie didn't even want anything to do with it. Almost like this was another paycheck for them. And when you do that, you create this empty, soulless husk of a movie that leaves the audience feeling empty as they walk out of the theater. And this is piled on top of everything else, so the movie was already terrible. Combined with this, it sucks out your soul. You literally leave the theater feeling broken and realizing that is an hour and 20 minutes of my life I'm never getting back. And that may be the only redeeming thing about this movie, is that it only runs for an hour and 20 minutes. But even then, there's 10 billion better things you could be doing with that 1 hour and 20 minutes. This movie isn't even good for riffing material. It's just a desperate attempt to cash in on the crazes of social media and all things cell phone related, and I'm not invested. No one should be invested in this. So much crap is unexplained, so much crap doesn't make sense, so much crap is so underwhelming. In fact, at a few points, I think it actually insults older generations. It's certainly insulting younger generations. Unfortunately, they're too dumb to realize. And you know what? While it's doing that, it just goes out of its way to insult everybody. Everywhere. Nothing can be gained by watching this movie. It's mindless. Nothing can be taken away from this movie. It's mindless. There is no message to be conveyed in this movie. It's mindless. Simply put, it's one of the most generic movies ever released in cinema. I can't believe it's come to this, Hollywood. On a cinematic release of all things. And also, right after I gave out one of my highest scores of all time. I can't believe I have to give out one of these things, but my final verdict on this movie? 0. I couldn't go any lower if I wanted to. It's not just this movie. It's the direction Hollywood has taken. It's the fact that the Popeye movie was canceled so they could make this. It's the direction Sony has been taking as a company entirely. It's the trends in society that led up to this movie. Even in the movie itself, nothing is redeemable. Nothing is enjoyable. This is the worst theatrical release of anything that we have had in decades. My advice, don't see this movie. Don't even see it because it's bad and you think you're gonna get a laugh out of it. 'Cause you're not. If I had the time and a sledgehammer, I would personally track down every single physical copy of this movie and destroy it. In fact, it can't be allowed to exist in this universe. She's gotta be here somewhere. Gatekeeper! You know why I'm here. You usually do. I admit, even I didn't think that humanity could be so foolish. But now the only way to save our world is by sealing it on the other side. That was a bit more dramatic than I was expecting. Well, at least the world's safe. Ah! So, you got Sir Patrick Stewart playing a pile of shit. Well, if you think that's gonna stop me from tearing you to... Is it over? Well, the giant lasers are new. I didn't think things have gotten that bad yet. Looks like we have no choice but to keep you a part of our continued efforts. The Ministry will be in touch. My name is Hunter. And this has been a Hunter Review. I'm fucking exhausted.
There once was a guy who created a machine, a thing that would take people to and from some other world. And when he arrived, he had run into a pony who smiled and decided that they both should go see a film. When that movie sucked, they decided to join forces, and then they created a new show called Hunter Reviews.